Hi, I'm Rob Wright with Dark Reading here at the Dark Reading News Desk at Black Hat USA 2025 in Las Vegas, and I am here with Rama Hoetzlein, founder of Quanta Sciences. Rama, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
So you've got a session protecting small organizations in the era of AI bots that I believe is tomorrow.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about the problem with AI bots. I think I can guess what they are, but it sounds like...
Yeah, so I'm the founder of Quanta Sciences. It's a knowledge systems and AI visualization startup. And one of our clients is the Community Science Institute. It's a public nonprofit in central New York. And we observed in working with the Community Science Institute that they were receiving like 7,000 hits per day, which was 10 times more than what we expected for that organization.
That's a lot.
So that's really quite a lot of hits.
Yeah.
So we were investigating that and trying to understand that better and understand what's going on. And what we realized is that 80% of the traffic was due to AI crawlers and bots. So this is kind of based indirectly on a report by Impreva that showed that bots were like 51% of the internet now. So there's more non-human traffic on the internet now than there is human traffic. And so we were seeing that in this organization, that they were getting hit by really large amounts of AI crawlers and bots. So we were thinking, how can we address this? What can we do? And we tried existing tools, and we found that a lot of the existing tools, they don't really distinguish between humans and machines. They just tell you what kind of daily statistics you're getting. So really what we wanted to do is try and understand what it is that we could do to address this, to try and kind of address this problem.
So why, you said the tools don't distinguish, the pre-existing tools don't really distinguish between human and bot traffic, but we've known that there's been a huge surge in traffic over the years of non-human sources.
Yes.
So why wasn't this addressed, I guess, sooner in your mind?
I think that it's just the rapid increase of it. It's happened in the past couple years that you have such a huge increase. And what we're observing is not just malicious attackers, right? What we're observing are actually benign agents that are going out and collecting data from data centers for crawlers. So we're not looking for malicious attacks. We're just looking for any kind of traffic that's non-human. And what we found is just the overwhelming volume of it is overwhelming servers and degrading performance for regular human users. So even if you're just looking for like regular, we found that our traffic is basically observing rate limits. They're observing throttling limits. So they're actually like behaving in a good way. They're just so much of it happening in the past few years that it's actually degrading performance for regular users.
Right. And so if you're a large organization and you have tons of compute and resources, big data centers, you can probably handle the influx of traffic and the problems that the bots are causing. But the smaller organization, mid-tier organizations, you're saying they're really suffering under this onslaught of bots.
I think a lot of small organizations are going to be struggling with what's happening with the internet because it's just such a large volume of traffic. And we've observed that they're coming from like ranges of IPs, so it's definitely coming from data centers. It's definitely coming from, like, you can determine without too much difficulty that it's coming from data centers just trying to collect as much data from the internet as possible.
Sure.
Yeah.
So go ahead, sorry. Well, so what's the response from the companies that are sending these bots out into the world and just crawling everything and collecting data? Like, do they have any response to this issue? Have they said, oh, we'll try to ramp it back a little, or?
I mean, there's not many great options, but what we developed is a tool called LogRip that basically, it asks this question, and it tries to address this question of how do you distinguish between human and non-human actors. And so that's what we developed as a tool that really identifies, is this a human actor or a non-human actor? And it's based a lot on observations and overlaps between security and human-computer interaction. How do people use computers? Well, we don't use them at night because we need to sleep. We don't use them like, during the weekends that often.
Right.
So what we found is that if we apply these ideas of human-computer interaction and we understand the data in that way, it's actually, you can look at it through the inverse and say, if something's accessing your server like throughout the entire day for more than 6 hours a day, that's probably not a human because no one would do that, right? So we developed these kind of behavioral statistical measures that supplement the traditional ones that really understand like why is it, how are these machines behaving? And with that kind of approach, you can actually start to detect which are the non-human actors and start to filter them. So we developed tools that basically allow you to kind of like filter by subnets and filter by regular IPs based on these statistical measures.
So that's good, but I'm envisioning a world in which the bots start to, or at least the creators of the bots start to adapt and they say, oh, we got to make them more human-like.
Sure.
So
Yeah, but the thing is, if it's made more human-like, it actually will be better, because the thing is, the frequency will be reduced, because the thing that we qualify in our tool is not whether it's malicious or not, it's just how fast and how non-human are you.
Right.
But if you're acting like a human, meaning you're accessing maybe a few times per hour or a few times per day, or you're decreasing your frequency, so it's not like every few seconds, then actually you're acting more like a human, and that's valuable. So that actually means that you're slowing down, and we kind of feel that just slowing down in general is probably a good idea. Like just, pacing ourselves with technology, pacing ourselves with AI, and just if we can get to rate limits that are approaching human beings, then actually that's a good thing, because then you're just kind of like, you're acting more like humans, and that is actually something that's a little bit desirable.
yeah, pacing yourself with AI does not seem like something that is happening right now.
Yes, it's not really happening right now, but I think that it's going to be a self-correcting mechanism in the future.
Okay.
Because if it gets out of control, then we're going to say as people, well, we kind of need to control it. We need to do something with it, right? So if it gets out of control, you just realize, well, then we're going to say, okay, we have to dial it back a little bit, right? I don't know what those barriers are for society, for civilization, when you say, okay, we need to dial it back. But I think that it's self-correcting, because if it really does get to that point, you just say, well, we need to do something and change it.
Yeah, I hope you're right. I
hope so.
I have my doubts about how willing some of the companies that create these bots for assortment of uses, but primarily AI, whether or not they would actually try to scale it back and scale it down. It just seems like right now there's such an arms race to get as much data and get as many of these models and agents out there as possible. I mean, do you envision a world in which you are working with some of these companies to sort of, hey, this is the data, this is the problem that they're causing?
I mean, what this really gets down to, and what we've implemented our tool, is really policy. That is, how much throttling do you want? What rate do you actually want? And that really does get down to policy. So we are interested in partnering and figuring out what are good policy approaches for businesses. What are good ways that you can kind of like change your policy, or adjust your policies based on the needs of the people that are out there. And we think that there's can be middle grounds. I think it's still very early and very open. So I'm hopeful, but we'll see what happens.
Could you arrange something like where you say, okay, you can let the bots out of the pen for like designated times when it's not going to like choke bandwidth during, I don't know.
Yeah.
10 a.m. to 2 p.m. or whatever, like peak traffic times for a lot of websites.
I think it's just a matter of finding those mediums. The challenge is that you have to do it in concert with everyone else.
Sure.
Because it's really the volume of all the traffic that becomes the bottleneck for these servers, right? So you really have to have it be a broad, across the board thing. Otherwise, it's not really effective. You can't just say you have to behave well. They all have to actually behave well for it to actually work. So
right. So if a couple only do it, it doesn't really matter. You need collective.
I think it's a policy decision at a slightly higher level than just the organization. It's a policy decision across the industry and across the field to really ask these questions.
So what's next after this research then? Are you guys looking at other things related to AI and the amount of like bot traffic that's out there, not just the sort of problems that they're causing for bandwidth?
Yeah, I think one of the things we'd like to do is really test which policies are effective, because right now we've just kind of like got the first version of the tool out. But what we'd like to do is like throttle the policies or even optimize the policies and see what is most effective in kind of managing that. And so kind of dealing with that, I think, is an interesting direction to go.
Great. Well, I hope you're right. I hope that your optimism about getting control of this is not misplaced, and glad to see you're doing work.
Yeah, it's not an optimism of a specific institution or a specific company or organization. It's more an optimism of civilization in general and humanity still kind of somewhat being in control of the AI and where we want to go in the future.
I like it. I'm down with it. I appreciate it. Thanks, Rama.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And thank you for watching this segment of the Dark Reading News Desk. I'm Rob Wright. We'll see you next time.